A long breath in the hush between market cycles, and I can feel the anticipation pulsing like electricity just under the skin. The question, when will Wall Street start buying Bitcoin again, whispers through my thoughts as I watch the weary tickers, the relentless sway of opportunity and fear. The answer, elusive, coiled within the patterns of the market, within the lives of those who move its tides. Before we dive in, if you, like me, wake with questions about where this market is headed and close your eyes at night with futures unspooling in your mind, subscribe to Crypto 101 Central. Let's chart this strange territory together. And, the bell icon? Tap it. Stay close. These cycles move fast and I want you to feel the turn before it arrives. Cycles. I've lived them, breathed them. There are mornings I wake and the ghosts of old trades hang heavy in the air, laughter and regret, ambition and restraint braided tight. The derivatives market, they say, is whispering bullishness now. The old guard, the silent holders, some selling, some pausing. Their footsteps leaving wet prints in the soft mud of market memory. I am bullish too, even as I find myself strangely cautious, not plunging headlong, but pausing, respecting the mythos of the 4-year cycle. Like stopping at the edge of a familiar ravine, peering into its depths before leaping. I spoke recently with Matthew Siegel, the head of digital asset research at Van Eck and the portfolio manager of Node, a fund, ambitious, hungry, intent on beating Bitcoin, but with less volatility. Our talk was a globe-trembling foray, wandering through CapEx on AI, the shadow of war on the Strait of Hormuz, opportunities and dissonance, dreams tasted and dreams shunned. As Matt spoke, the world seemed to refract through the lens of a personal journey, his voice at once weary and sharpened, like someone who's kept vigil through long, uncertain nights. Inside Van Eck, he told me, the debate is fierce. Not just about the war's shadow, but also about the CapEx return from artificial intelligence. Every model on the table, every hope stacked against the looming unknown. Decisions pressed by the relentless demand for a return. Will it come from ruthless cuts or from something tangible, profit crystallized into dollars? He's bullish, Matt says, quietly, almost confiding, because in his own life the arrival of a powerful new tool, a digital analyst named Claude, symbiotic with Excel, has transformed his days. No longer hiring more staff, unlocking productivity, time folding like origami. I imagine him at his desk, the clatter of old processes now replaced by something smoother, more intuitive. A whisper of the future pressing its lips to the nape of our necks. Van Eck, brave, messy, finally consolidating around Anthropic, building the digital agents that will tend the silent cares of back-office work with tireless precision. Agents that might, in some not too distant tomorrow, earn their own retirement, their own legacy. And Node, that crypto-flavored vessel, rides herd on Bitcoin miners. Those first to feel the blade of AI CapEx. They must sell Bitcoin, must sacrifice, to fund the refitting of their data centers. Costs keep rising, the demand for computational power, the pressure on infrastructure. Stocks of these miners have fallen significantly from their highs, the stories they tell more warning than celebration. Yet Matt, tracing the circuit between his labor and the new technology, finds a reason to hope. In the smallest, subtlest increments, he sees a future where we are all a little less burdened by repetition. He speaks of automation, of Claude crafting daily sheets, parsing the hurt and the healing in the numbers, guiding tax strategies that once gnawed at the corners of his plans. This, too, is a kind of alchemy, turning confusion to clarity, letting sorrow slip out the door. Let's pause here. If these reflections strike a chord within you, if you find part of yourself echoed in the longing for clarity and the hunger to master this wild frontier, like this video. Your gesture is part of the pattern. It tells the story to the algorithms, invites new voices into our circle. Matt's gaze lands on Marathon, Mara, a story in perpetual transition. Once viewed with suspicion, now regarded with a twinge of optimism. Marathon, bearer of many scars, recently sold a meaningful portion of Bitcoin, using the proceeds to reduce debt, a rite of balance. Their executive compensation now tied to recurring revenue rather than just the crude count of coins won. Their reach stretching into Europe, a data center acquisition, whispers of sovereign AI. There is a quiet humility here, no longer demanding a premium for holding an asset that any buyer might claim for themselves. If they bridge the valuation gap, other miners trading at significantly higher multiples compared to MARA's lower valuation, eyes will widen. MARA's partnership with Starwood, a major private equity player, is a plank over troubled water. The first signed lease, when it comes, will serve as an unveiling. Yet the landscape is crowded. Competitors lurking, ambition pressed against the glass. But with the footprint Mara commands, their destiny feels less like a risk and more like a hand finally outstretched, fingers brushing what has always been just out of reach. Within this broad symphony, one company gleams. Aker, a Norwegian marvel, an energy kingpin with the soul of a dreamer. Years ago, their chief executive watched the sunrise over fields of spare energy and imagined Bitcoin not as a coin, but as a vessel, a battery to gather what would otherwise spill unused into the void. Aker's patience was glacial, their silence enigmatic. Contact was met with silence, years folding like dark wings around their ambition. Only more recently did they surface, their mining wisdom transformed into the funding of N-Scale, a European counterpart to the American giants, now valued at a significant level. Meaningful stake held, dividends paid, the war's shadow refracted into profit. For now, Aker rides two winds, energy and AI. When the IPO sun finally rises, perhaps then it will be time to let go the name to pocket the winnings before the stories turn. Energy, war. These are the true tectonic plates beneath our feet. The fate of the Strait of Hormuz is no longer an abstraction, but an immediate thing, shaping not just oil flows but the futures of entire nations. Stories ripple outward, ships move, tariffs are paid in currencies both familiar and foreign. Through the haze, the United States seems poised to step back, declaring endings where others would demand retribution. In a world grown restless with forever wars, what comes after surrender? What do alliances mean when help is not reciprocated? I sense in Matt's words a flickering impatience, a willingness for the US to become more self-reliant, energy independent, less reactive to external pressure. If you feel a jolt of opinion, a pull of disagreement, let it spill in the comments. I crave your thoughts, your uncertainties, your certainties, each a flake of gold for our shared understanding. Defense and autonomy. Once, my path ran parallel to the drone companies, messy, volatile decades ago. Now the thread is memory, and the DRAM market, ever sensitive, finds new demand. Drones, small now, but growing, hungry. Matt is positioned in memory infrastructure, aligning with the systems that will empower autonomy. When demand for this technology grows into a more meaningful share of global production, these ripples become waves, and conviction is tested and renewed. Bitcoin treasuries, the altcoin treasuries, a fragmenting kaleidoscope. At Van Eck, courage and restraint dance. Limited participation in certain capital formations, caution shaped by past patterns, companies trading below their true value, governance concerns, lack of dividends. Why believe in a premium if value is not clearly returned? These patterns echo across years and markets. Yet there are flickers of maturity in this world scattered among the wreckage. Buybacks funded by real cash, not borrowed ambition. Some companies have learned to manage risk, to dull volatility. But for every smart move, there's another that reflects inconsistency, shifting strategies, uncertain direction. And what of Bitcoin's future, of my own battered, relentless optimism? The 4-year cycle is the rhythm in my bones, a song you hum even when there is silence. With each downturn, with each uncertain moment, I find myself not leaping, not cowering, but waiting. Each derivative position, puts expensive, calls cautious, signals not despair, but awareness. The AUG sellers, those whose coins lay dormant for years and only recently stirred, seem quieter now. The wave has crested, exhaustion shimmered in their wake. Not everyone is done selling, the miners remain pragmatic, but the intensity has passed. The field is quieter. I remain constructive, but measured, my gaze fixed on the distant bend of the cycle. Altcoins? The exposure remains limited. The post-election world saw strong moves, but usage, the real signal, did not always follow. Most of the allocation remains outside of altcoins, with focus elsewhere, and much of the outperformance tied to specific sectors like miners. New ETFs are emerging slowly, but the dominant narrative this year leans toward what some call corporate chains. Corporate chains, engineered systems built by companies, firms like Circle and Stripe, creating infrastructure designed for efficiency, regulation, and integration. Predictable fees, faster rails, smoother interaction between fiat and crypto. Several crypto companies now hold banking-style permissions, pushing toward a future where movement between systems becomes seamless. The shift is slow, but steady. And in the hush, Figure Technologies, a company bridging traditional finance and blockchain innovation. Provenance, their backbone, allows faster, more transparent financial products, gaining trust, gaining validation. Old systems, reimagined. So, I return to my first breath, the longing to know when Wall Street's buying will begin anew. The market hums with possibility and restraint, the wisdom of waiting pulling in the lines of my hands. If you found these reflections meaningful, if my journey weaves even loosely with your own, let me know through your comments. Your words have always found me when I needed them most. And as the final notes of this song fade, I invite you, bold soul searching in the wide wild of crypto, to watch the next videos on Crypto 101 Central, to tap the bell and stay within the echo of this ongoing story. The cycles continue, the market never really sleeps, and neither do I.